I must say that when I was young, I wasn't very crazy about music. It was just something that I did from a very young age. And by the time I was at Curtis, I felt like, well, I guess this is what I'm going to have to do. But it wasn't necessarily my decision to be at that kind of situation. When I was 14, I started studying with Joseph Silverstein. And that's when I really fell in love with music. I remember going to my first lesson and he demonstrated something for me, and it was a kind of sound that I've never heard before. It was a very much of a old world kind of sound that you would hear in the 1930s and 40s of the Hollywood. Very much of an old world sound that I wasn't aware of, and I immediately had emotional connection to. And he was the one that introduced me to many of the old world violinists like Chrysler, Menuhin, Tasha Seidel. I could go on and on. These artists definitely have been my favorites. That kind of a old world playing, that is something that I've always been interested since then, and I very much still continue to be so. I started when I was 2.5 years old, actually. And when I was 8, we moved to Canada, Edmonton, Alberta, which is very northwest of the country. When I was 10, I was accepted to the Curtis Institute of Music. And there I spent the next 8 years of my music education there. My teachers there included Jamie Laredo, Joseph Silverstein, and Shmuel Ashkenazi. Afterwards, I went to Indiana University, where I continued my work with Jamie Laredo. And also I was commuting to Chicago to play for Shmuel. And I remember it was actually, to get there, I would have to take 4 different buses, and I'd have to walk about 45 minutes, and it would take me about 6 hours each way to get there, to get to his apartment to take my lessons with him. And I would say it was quite a dedication on my part, but there was so much to learn from him that I was very happy to do that. Afterwards, I went to a summer camp where I met Hagai Shaham, and there were certain qualities about his playing and his teaching that I really wanted to get everything from. And so when I asked him where he teaches, he said, well, I teach in Israel. So I was like, okay. So I kind of just packed up and went to live in Tel Aviv for the next 2.5 years. And that's where I was exposed to a lot of like Jewish music, such as pieces by Akron and Bloch. I definitely have a love and hate relationship with music. It's something that I feel very passionate about, but there are times when this gives me a lot of miseries. So music is not something where I feel kind of, in peace about. So, when I hear great artists, when I hear great recordings, it really takes me to a place where I wouldn't even know how to express verbally. And also when I'm playing certain pieces that I feel very close to, and also with the artists that I really admire, then it does bring me this kind of a euphoria that it's hard to really describe in words, and it would be an extension of my body, because sometimes I feel a little inhibited in terms of expressing my emotions verbally. I do think that everybody feels connected to different kinds of music, obviously. So, for instance, I love to listen to artists like Chet Baker and Frank Sinatra. That kind of music really is something that I feel very connected to, and I would listen to those kind of music a lot. I guess as an artist, I can't really try to appease everybody because I don't know what their taste would be like, but what I can do the best as an artist is to feel the music that I feel very close to and try to portray and play that kind of music, and hope that there will be some people out there that would also have the same kind of affinity. I think the sound of violin for me is the closest to the human voice. Also, me being a female, that would be the register that I would be connected to in terms of the vocal range. Not just the human voice in terms of singing, but there's also that spoken quality, where you could call it the parlando. When you're singing, we're also talking. Each word starts with a consonant or a vowel, and that creates a very different beginning of the note, and also how one would emote that certain note or a phrase. So when I play, that's something that I think about a lot in terms of the shiftings that I would do, like how I would go from one note to the other. Like, is this a consonant where it's more like a downward sigh, or is this an upward hill where you kind of go for it, and that would create a different kind of sound. Having different kinds of sound that translate your emotions, that's something that I'm very attracted to, and that's something that I think about a lot and appreciate a lot when I hear other great artists. Because although it's important for us to know how to interpret music and how to emote, I think at the end it's very important that how we feel actually transmits to the people that are listening.